Okay, let's get into this. We've got a source here. Looks like a news excerpt talking about a pretty significant policy move under President Trump.
Right, a proclamation setting up new travel restrictions.
Exactly. And our mission, in this deep dive is just to pull out the key details, the context from this specific source for you.
Lay it all out.
Yeah. And the core thing, it really kicks off with the president signing this proclamation. So, according to the text we have, this was signed on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And the reasons given. National security and, national interest. Pretty standard framing for these things.
Right, those are the stated rationales. And it led to restrictions on, quite a few countries.
It did. And what's interesting, looking at the source, is how it splits them up.
Yeah, that makes a clear distinction. Two categories.
Exactly. First, you've got the countries facing full restrictions. The source lists 12.
Okay.
Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen.
That's quite a list for the full ban.
It is. And then the source points out 7 other countries.
The ones with partial restrictions.
Yeah. Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela.
It's interesting. The source explicitly separates full and partial. It suggests different criteria or impacts, right?
Absolutely. Even if this particular text doesn't spell out what partial means exactly.
Right, the specifics aren't detailed here.
But that distinction itself is notable, and the source actually includes a quote from the president about this.
Oh, yeah. What does it say?
He's quoted saying, as president, I must act to protect the national security and national interests of the United States and its people.
Okay, standard justification.
But then it adds, I remain committed to engaging with those countries willing to cooperate to improve information sharing and identity management procedures and to address both terrorism-related and public safety risks.
Okay. So that part, as the source presents it, links the restrictions to specific cooperation issues.
Exactly. Information sharing, identity management, it adds a bit more flavor to the national security reason.
Gives a potential why behind certain countries being on the list.
Right. Now, the source doesn't just, present this proclamation on its own.
Good. Context is key.
It gives some important background. It reminds us about that earlier executive order.
The one from January 2017, soon after he took office.
That's the one. It initially banned travel from 7 predominantly Muslim countries. The source lists them: Iraq, Syria, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Somalia, and Yemen.
And looking at the two lists the source provides, there's definitely some overlap there.
Yeah, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Somalia, Yemen. They appear on both the original list and this later, longer list.
Which shows, some consistency, but also evolution. New countries added. Iraq seems to be off this newer list from the source.
Right. And the source also notes what that first order was often called.
The Muslim ban, or the travel ban. Those terms were everywhere.
Yeah, very commonly used. And it briefly touches on the legal fight, too.
Right, it mentions the court challenges.
Says it was challenged, then kind of retooled into different versions.
And eventually, a version was upheld by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
2018, the source says.
Exactly. That's a crucial piece of the puzzle the source provides.
So if you piece together what's in this source, this later proclamation doesn't come out of nowhere.
Seems like an evolution, like you said.
Yeah, it kind of builds on that legal groundwork from the Supreme Court decision about the earlier versions.
But with a revised list of countries?
Potentially based on those updated assessments, maybe linked to that cooperation on information sharing mentioned in the quote.
That connection seems pretty clear from how the source lays it out. It feels like a continuation, but, modified.
Definitely. So thinking about what this means for you, the listener, trying to grasp this policy from this source.
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
Well, it really shows that you need to look closely at the specifics the source gives you.
Like the actual countries listed.
Yes, and the type of restriction, that full versus partial thing, plus the stated reasons, and crucially, the history and legal background that the source connects it to.
It's about seeing the different layers, not just the headline action.
Exactly. It's the trajectory of the policy as presented here.
Okay, so we've basically pulled apart this news excerpt, looked at the specifics of the travel proclamation, who was affected, why they said they did it, and how the source links it to past actions and legal decisions.
We've unpacked the details provided in the text you shared,
Right, and maybe that leaves you with a final thought to chew on, something beyond just what's written here.
which is
How do these kinds of specific, detailed national security actions, like this travel proclamation described in the source, actually ripple outwards? How do they shape international relations and the whole global discussion about what national security means?